In this video, we will be exploring the art of watercolour painting, learning how to paint these beautiful loose tulips using wet in wet and wet in dry. This tutorial will take you through the step-by-step process of creating these gorgeous flowers, and this loose style painting is suited for everybody. So without any further ado, let's get painting. So this tutorial is for beginners, or if you've never painted before, you can join in with us today. So I start off by mixing two colours here, and I'll tell you about those in a second. This is the colour chart that I made to match up my colours, and I show you how to make one on the top of your screen right now. So if you want to click through to that and have a little look at it later on. So this is a super easy tutorial, and as I said, everyone can join in, and these are the colours that I've chosen to use. Very limited palette today, just 4 colours, and I will link them in the description box underneath this video. I've sketched out a rough idea of how I want my painting to look, and using my number 12 brush, I'm just going to add water where I want to drop the paint. This time I'm using a really loose shape of a tulip, and I'm dropping in some ruby red paint here into the water that I've applied onto the paper. You'll notice that the paint just drops where I've added the water, giving it this lovely, soft, blurry effect. This is called wet in wet, and it's a really great way to start painting if you're a little bit nervous with watercolour application. You can see me here dropping in some yellow orange. This is a lovely orangey yellow colour, and continuing the process for 2 other tulip heads like this. So by adding the water to your paper first of all, it takes out that scary part, and it means that you know exactly where that paint is going to go. The paper that I'm using today is a rough surface 100% cotton paper, and I really recommend that you use a good quality paper for your paintings, even if the paint is student grade, because paper is what makes your watercolour really perform well. You can of course use whichever materials that you have within your own kit. You don't have to go out and buy the colours that I'm using today. The set that I'm using is from Schmincke, and as I've said, I will list all the materials that I'm going to be using in the description box, including this little palette here. But just to run through the colours, they are ruby red, yellow lemon, which is what I'm using here, along with cobalt blue to mix some lovely green tones. With my number 12 round brush, you can see I'm just drawing in some really light stems here. This will give me a kind of rough idea of where I'm going to be placing the colours as I work through. So today's tutorial is all about relaxed painting, no outlines, no rules, just applying paint onto paper and having fun with the process, and just relaxing and getting into your artistic flow to create these beautiful tulips. Now you can see me just adding a little bit more blue, and I'm just painting in a leaf here, and I'll continue to do this wet on dry. Now wet on dry means that you're applying your paint directly onto the paper like this, and once you have your shape in place, you can see me just taking the paint all over the leaf like this. Now at the moment everything's looking a little bit flat because we just have one colour in place. Watercolour is all about building up your layers slowly and carefully once each layer is dry, and this will help you create form and contrast within your painting. You can see me here mixing the lemon yellow with the cobalt blue and just going over that paint like this. Because my paint wasn't quite dry, it's bloomed a little bit, but that's okay. Just adding a bit more detail here and there, and you can see me here just dropping in that darker tone to the outside of that leaf. Carrying on the same process up the second one. I've gone down to my number 4 Snowdrop Round. Now these brushes have a very fine point, and it means that once you've got that first wash in place and it's dry, you can go over it with another layer. This time working wet and dry. Mixing up another green colour with the lemon yellow and the cobalt blue light, and varying the amount of blue paint that I add to my mix to make a darker value, as you can see me doing here. Now that that first layer is dry, it means we can accentuate that colour with our different washes. You can add many layers with watercolour and keep building them up until you have the depth of colour that you need. If you are new here, we do launch new videos every single Tuesday, so you may want to consider subscribing to our channel and hitting that little bell notification. That way you won't miss new content every single week. If you are enjoying this video, could I ask you to smash that like button? It's a way of letting YouTube know that you're enjoying my content. Today's painting is all about a loose and relaxed style, but over on our channel we generally paint things a little bit more detailed. So if botanical painting is something that interests you and you'd like to learn a little bit more about it and really level up your botanical painting, we do have a Patreon in case that's of interest to you. Let's just take a look. If you love botanical painting and want to know more, then you may want to join our Patreon. We have different membership levels so that you can take your botanical painting to the next level. With our Clematis level, you will have a full-length, in-depth tutorial every month, and if you'd like to make even more progress, then check out our Rose level, where we now have a mentorship offering feedback to help you grow. You won't find any of our Patreon tutorials here on YouTube, and you can cancel your membership at any time. So if you want to take your botanical painting to the next level, then take a look. I'll put the link in the description underneath this video. You won't find any of our Patreon tutorials here on YouTube, so do take a look if that interests you, and it's another way for you to support my channel. Okay, back to the job in hand. This time I'm still using my number 4 pointed round to get a little bit more detail here and there, mixing up some more blue in that green tone, and you can see me here dropping in some paint wet in wet to add a little bit more sort of a tonal value and a bit of tonal contrast as we work through the painting. I've added some sort of veins on this big leaf here on the end. Again, very random, no sort of harsh rules to this painting. Just enjoying the process. So if you're looking for something really quick to do, maybe you don't want to have the pressure of doing a full painting, this is a really great way to kind of just relax into the painting process without having to do something too complex that requires full concentration. I don't know about you, but sometimes I just want to do something that's really, really quick and easy. And this is the perfect way to sort of warm up to do maybe a little bit more complex painting later on. I'm adding a bit more lemon to the mix, and I'm adding this to the bottom of this leaf here. It just means that it's not looking too flat and you're giving that leaf a lot more variation in colour. Taking the same colour down the stem here. So there you saw me adding some yellow orange to that first wash. This is called colour glazing. It means that once your first layer is dry, you can add another layer on top of it. This can change the colour and give it a really, really good dimension and really make it stand out and lift off the page. I've also added another layer of ruby red, and I'm leaving a few gaps here and there so that you can see that initial wash shine through underneath. By glazing over your colours like this, it means that you can build them up and still retain that initial wash because watercolour is transparent, and by leaving little gaps like this, you really give a little bit more interest to your painting. Once again, glazing over that first wash with the ruby red and the yellow orange. This is a lovely orangey yellow tone. Notice how that colour changes into this beautiful, glorious, fiery red tone just by washing over the colours like this. It is important that your colours are dry before you glaze over them, otherwise they will just mix and merge into each other and you'll just get a bloom, which we don't want. So make sure that each layer is dry before you start. Just adding a bit more detail here and there, and now I'm glazing over the first tulip head with some more of that lovely yellow-orange colour that we spoke of earlier on. And just continuing the process. adding a bit more red. Because the petals on this flower are still damp, it's giving you that lovely blurred edge. Just using the brush to apply that colour right to the outside edge and just adding a few layers and bits of veining here and there just to give it a little bit more interest. It's entirely up to you how much detail you put on. There's no Every week here on YouTube, we generally give you a line drawing and reference photograph to work from, but of course this week I'm kind of making it up, so there isn't one to go along with this tutorial. It's all about just freestyling and getting that paint onto the paper. So I'm just going to continue this process until the painting is finished. So here's the finished painting. Let me know what you think.